But there's been a ton going on, and I think the most relevant of all right now is the Cincinnati Reds just threw a no-hitter, but they lost. It's one of the odder things that I think I've seen happen in Cincinnati sports history, if I'm being honest. Hunter Greene's absolutely shoving against the Pirates, and then he walks two guys. He was at a lot of pitches. I think he was at 117-ish, and he walked two guys. They decided to pull him. They threw in, I'm blanking on his name right now, Art Warren, right after he walked a guy, and then it was one out. I think they get a little dribbler past Warren, and it seemed like I think it was Lopez was at second and tried to turn two and just couldn't. So it wasn't a hit, and they scored a run off it. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. It's probably the most Reds thing that's going to happen this season. They lose a game where they throw a no-hitter combined, and it's 1-0. So that sucks. I think the worst part to me is Hunter Greene gets the loss for it. That really does suck. But he's a young up-and-coming prospect. When you're looking at the Reds this year, it's not about right now. So you have to take that rationally and realize like you're not going to be good this year. But it does suck because you saw them rattle off a really good week, honestly, until the last two games against the Pirates. They split that series, but they beat the Pirates in their series. Then they beat the Brewers too. So you win 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of 7 or 6 of 8 there for a minute. And then now you're at 6 of 10, which still isn't bad. I mean, that's more around the level of baseball you thought the Reds were going to be at this season, just because you didn't expect them to be this bad. I mean, I think people knew that the Reds team probably had limitations. They weren't going to be great. They were going to be a bottom level team, but the way they were losing at the beginning of the year was a historic pace. And obviously they really weren't going to keep that up, if we're being honest. But yeah, the no-hitter had to be talked about. I just thought Hunter Greene has so much potential. I love his stuff. Even when his stuff's kind of off, he still has it. He definitely started decreasing in velocity towards that, and that's to be expected when you're throwing 170 pitches. But man, he looks so good. He looks in command. If we could just get him some run support. I feel like in the last games that he's been pitching, I know in a few of them he's gotten shelled, which is going to happen. I mean, when you throw the ball fast, they're going to hit the ball hard off you. So it happens. But he's just not getting a ton of run support, in my opinion. I haven't watched a ton this last week. I watched so much for so long, and it just got kind of ugly. So I decided I was going to take a little break, probably get back on the wagon this week, watch all the games. So I am excited for that. But yeah, right now with the Reds, it's not looking great. I mean, the upcoming schedule doesn't look very easy right now. You play 2 against the Guardians in Cleveland, then you play 3 against the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays are very good, so that's going to be tough. And then you play 3 with the Cubs, or 4 with the Cubs in Cincinnati. So that looks a lighter part of your schedule. So maybe you steal some wins there, but then you play the Giants. So again, that's not going to be great either. I think it's just all about expectations right now. And I think everything that happened at the beginning of the year with the Reds, especially between ownerships and fans, I think that's where the disconnect was. So it's going to be a rough season, but I'm excited to see kind of the young guys see what happens. I know Joey Votto just got moved up to I think the Dragons today when I'm recording this, so I'm not sure when that'll be when you guys are watching this on YouTube or listening to the podcast. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know Overton just got moved to starting rotation. He's been pitching pretty well for us. That's awesome. I think Gutierrez got moved back to the pen, which I think was something that to me made a lot of sense just seeing his stuff. I think he looks more like a bullpen arm to me. Again, I'm not the baseball aficionado, so I hope you guys don't think I am. So take that with what you will. But yeah, not the baseball aficionado. So it'll be exciting for me to see kind of what these young guys are doing. Hunter Greene's playing really well. I know Lodolo has looked better in his last few starts. To me, it's just the bats. We just don't have the bats to really be super competitive. So the days when you can't really pitch great, that's when you're going to struggle, which is interesting to me when you look at the Brewers series, because they won the games when obviously you win the games and you get a ton of runs, but they won the games when there was a lot of runs scored. It was 10-5. They win that game. They lose the game that's 4-5, but then they win the game that's 14-11, which in my mind, you really wouldn't think this Red team would do, considering the fact that they just don't have the bats to compete in, to me, what would be a shootout. And they did. It's kind of crazy. And then obviously I think the Pirates are one of the lesser teams in the league too. But I mean, that's kind of what you got to do with baseball. You got to take care of business when you can. And I don't know if this Reds team is better than the Pirates. The Pirates are better than the Reds, but they're both not great teams. So those are the games you got to win. And I mean, they've been doing that right now, but I mean, you wouldn't be in the mix for being a playoff team. I mean, if you probably have everybody and you don't trade off your roster or you sign Castellanos, you're probably in the mix because you're not going to have the historically bad first month. So it definitely shatters all kind of hope for the rest of the year, even though they are playing pretty good baseball along the stretch. I mean, the no-hitter's got to be a deflating one. That's going to be interesting to me personally to kind of see how this Reds team reacts to that, especially against the Guardians, who are playing really well this year. You're going to go up against Kwan, who's playing really well. Ramirez is playing really well too. So it's interesting. I don't know who the pitcher's going to be. Hopefully you don't face anybody great or Bieber or anything, but with our luck, they probably will. So I think that's all I'll talk about the Reds. I really want to talk about the Reds a lot more with Jake next time he's on. So hopefully that's here soon, because miss talking to the guys about Cincinnati sports as usual.